Hello, Mr. Pip. You did come home then?
Yes, but I didn't go home.
I left a note for you at each of the temple gates. Which did you come to?
The Whitefriars one.
I'll go round to the others throughout the day and destroy the notes. Would you mind toasting the sausage for the aged P?
I'd be delighted to do it.
Now, you know, you and I understand one another. We are in our private and personal capacities, and that we have been engaged in a confidential transaction before today. Official sentiments are one thing. We are extra official.
Thank you, Wemmick. I was so very nervous that I had already lighted the aged sausage like a torch.
I accidentally heard you were in a certain place that I once took you. You know the name, yes?
Better to keep the name unspoken. I understand you.
I heard there by chance yesterday morning that a certain person not altogether of uncolonial pursuits and not unpossessed of portable property. We won't name this person.
Definitely not.
He made a little stir in a certain part of the world where a good many people go, not always on their own inclination.
In watching his face, I made quite a firework of the aged sausage, for which I apologize.
By disappearing from such place, from which conjectures had been raised and theories formed, I also hear that you at your chambers had been watched and might be watched again.
By whom?
I wouldn't go into that. It might clash with official responsibilities. All right, ain't you, aged P?
All right, John, my boy. All right.
This watching of me at my chambers is inseparable from the person to whom you have suggested.
I couldn't undertake to say that of my own knowledge. I mean, I couldn't say it was at first, but either it is, or will be, or it's in great danger of being.
I told him after a little meditation over the fire that I would like to ask him a question, subject to his answering. He paused in his breakfast and nodded to me once. You have heard of a man of bad character, whose true name is Compeyson?
Mm-hmm.
Is he living?
Yes.
Is he in London? He gave me a nod and went on with his breakfast.
Now, with questioning being over, I come to what I did after hearing what I heard. I went to Garden Court to find you. Then I went to Clarriker's to find Mr. Herbert.
And him you found?
And him I found, without mentioning any name or going into any details. I asked if he was aware of anybody being about the chambers or about the immediate neighborhood. He had better get them out of the way while you were out of the way.
He would be greatly puzzled what to do.
He was puzzled what to do, not the less, because I gave him my opinion that it was not safe to try to get whoever it is too far out of the way of the present. I'll tell you something. Under existing circumstances, there is no place like a great city. When you are once in it, don't break cover too soon. Lie close.
What did Herbert do?
Mr. Herbert struck out a plan. He mentioned to me a secret. He is courting a young lady who has a bedridden pa. The pa had been in the purser-line of life. Lies abed in a bow window where you can see the ships sail up and down the river. You are acquainted with the young lady, most probably.
Not personally. The truth was that she had objected to me as a companion. When Herbert had first proposed to present me to her, she had received the proposal with such very moderate warmth that Herbert had felt himself obliged to confide the state of the case to me. With a view to the lapse of a little time before I made her acquaintance, when I had begun to advance Herbert's prospects, he and his affianced had naturally not been very anxious to introduce a third person into their lives. And although I was assured that I had risen in Clara's esteem, and the young lady and I had regularly interchanged messages and remembrances by Herbert, I had never seen her, but I did not trouble Wemmick with these particulars.
The house with the bow window, down there between Limehouse and Greenwich, which has a burnished upper floor to let Mr. Herbert put it to me. What did I think of that as a temporary tenement for that person. Now, I thought very well of it. For 3 reasons I'll give you. That is to say, firstly, it's altogether out of all your beats and is well away from the usual heap of streets, great and small. Secondly, without going near it yourself, you could always hear. Thirdly, after a while, and when it might be prudent, if you wish to slip the man on board a foreign packet boat, there he is, ready.
I was comforted by this and continually thanked Wemmick before begging him to proceed.
Well, sir, Mr. Herbert threw himself into the business, and by 9 o'clock last night, he housed, whoever he might be, you and I don't want to know, quite successfully. At the old lodgings, it was understood that he was summoned to Dover, and in fact he was taken down the Dover road and corners out of it. Now, another great advantage of all this is that it was done without you. If anyone was concerning himself about your movements, you must be known to be so many miles off, and quite otherwise engaged. This diverts suspicion, and for the same reason, I recommend that even if you came back last night, you should not go to home. It brings in more confusion, and you want confusion. And now, Mr. Pip, I have probably done the most I can do, but if I can ever do more, I shall be glad to do it. Here's the address. You can be no harm in your going there, and seeing for yourself that all is well with the man, before you go home. But after you have gone home, don't go back here. You are very welcome, I am sure, Mr. Pip. And let me finally impress one important point upon you. Make sure this evening to lay hold of his portable property. You don't know what may happen to him. Don't let anything happen to the portable property.
Quite unable to make my mind clear to Wemmick at this point, I declined to speak.
Time's up, and I must be off. If you had nothing more pressing to do than keep here till dark, that's what I should advise. You look very much worried, and it would do you good to have a perfectly quiet day with the aged. You'll be up presently, and a little bit of, you remember the pig?
Of course.
Well, and a little bit of him. That sausage you toasted was from him, and he was a first-rater. Do try him, if it is only for an old acquaintance's sake. Goodbye, aged parent.
All right, John. All right, my boy.
I soon fell asleep before Wemmick's fire, and the aged and I enjoyed one another's society by falling asleep before it more or less all day. We had loin of pork for dinner, and greens grown on the estate. When it was quite dark, I left the aged preparing the fire for toast.